Hello, my name is Professor Cathy Jackson and I'm the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Clinical and Biomedical Sciences. Here in the medical school, we are delighted once again to support the National Forum of Health and Wellbeing with their latest event, which this time is looking at obesity. Obesity, as we all know, is a common cause of death and ill health. But I guess that having been through the COVID pandemic and being still in the COVID pandemic, we're all very, very aware of the adverse effects that obesity has had on the outcomes of people who are infected with COVID. Not only that, but many of us who have been in lockdown have perhaps gained a few pounds during the lockdown time. So it's a very opportune time for an event looking at obesity from a holistic approach and how we can all help ourselves to keep healthy, to become healthier, and to prevent becoming victims to diseases, viruses such as COVID in the future. So I wish you all the best for your event. I know it will be excellent, they always are. And as always, the medical school is very happy to support this event. Enjoy.
Good afternoon and very warm welcome to all those who have been able to join us. The National Health Services continues to face a challenge of increasing incidence of obesity both in adults and children. As there is no magic treatment that suits everyone, this seminar will provide a menu of various strategies to tackle obesity. I'm sure you will find it useful, and together we can find solutions to prevent and treat obesity, which can otherwise lead to several chronic conditions, including cancer. We can play our part as a community by changing our lifestyle, and the government can take care of issues related to food industries, housing, employment, and health inequalities. I would like to convey my sincere thanks to all the speakers who have contributed to this seminar, and in particular to Dr. Rajeev Gupta for coordinating this event. I will hand over this now to Rajeev, and I trust that you will find it interesting and enjoyable.
Overweight or obesity is associated with increased risk of high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, stroke, liver diseases, respiratory diseases, etc. And I have come to know that there are around 12 types of cancers which are associated with obesity, and this all is from the national statistics and the government documents and the even government websites. Now, all of you know the impact of obesity on the mental health, including the low self-esteem, depression, bullying, harassment, etc. And the all situation has become worse during the COVID pandemic. And I am quite surprised to know that there are a lot of people who are sharing the recipes, and that stimulate and actually the biological desire for food is increased by sharing the food and food recipes, which has increased during this time. Now, there is not one thing that would work for all, and it is an increasing pressure on the NHS to provide the care. However, medicine alone cannot help. So I'm delighted that during this seminar we have actually taken a holistic approach. So it's not just the medicine or the drug treatment or the prevention that works, but also in the worst scenario you need to go for bariatric surgery. However, there are a lot of different varieties which can be used, and that include dietary intervention, and there is a keto diet, and there is a variety of other diets. There is intermittent fasting, which some of our people have used, and they are sharing their experience and their journey during the rest of the discourse. And also there is hypnotherapy, which is programming the mind to do the things differently and reduce the appetite and increase the activity or exercise, which ultimately is sum total like a bank balance, reducing the fat balance in the body. Now, there are some techniques in yoga which is a complete natural thing, and that also has some asanas and some activities and even some breathing exercises that actually reduce the weight, which will be here from some of our speakers, as well as from the Ayurveda. There are different techniques which are used, and I'm quite glad that there are special programs, 30-day programs, and some other research which will hear in addition to the fundamentals of the how the body mechanism and the metabolism affect the development of obesity, and also how we can manage it. So let's just join our rest of the speakers. I am sure you will find it very interesting and enjoying.
As you all know, obesity has become a major public health issue in the past 3 to 4 decades all over the world. It affects about 25 to 35% of adult individuals in the developed countries. Even in the developing countries, this has become a major health issue in the recent years. The complications of obesity can be divided into metabolic complications and non-metabolic complications, as you can see from the list. This diagram shows the schematic representation of complications of obesity in the different organs. For example, in the head, it can raise the pressure within the cranial cavity, causing idiopathic intracranial hypertension. It can also lead on to stroke and cataracts. In the lungs, it causes abnormality of the lung functions, obstructive sleep apnea, and hypoventilation. In the liver, obesity may be associated with fatty liver disease, steatosis, and cirrhosis or hardening of the liver. In the gallbladder, it causes gallstone formation, which may lead on to acute pancreatitis. In the heart, obesity can result in coronary artery disease that can lead on to heart attack. In the genital system, obesity may be associated with infertility, both in females and males. In females, for example, it causes abnormalities in menstrual cycles, polycystic ovary syndrome, and infertility, whereas in males, it causes hypogonadism and infertility. Obesity may be associated with metabolic complications such as diabetes, dyslipidemia, and hypertension. Obesity is also associated with a lot of cancers such as cancer of the breast, uterus, cervix, colon, esophagus, pancreas, kidney, and prostate. This diagram shows the representation of type 2 diabetes in obese individuals. Obesity is associated with increased nutrient flow, a state of chronic systemic inflammation, and adverse lifestyles also contribute to a low-grade inflammatory state of the fat tissues, along with ethnicity-related modulating factors such as genetic environment, abnormal lifestyles, metabolic factors, socio-cultural factors. All these things causes a low-grade inflammation of the fat tissues. This in turn results in insulin resistance that causes type 2 diabetes mellitus. Obesity is also associated with dyslipidemia, as you can see from the picture, abnormal fat metabolism in the body. You can see insulin is not properly processed in obese individuals, resulting in lysis of the fat cells. This causes increased output of free fatty acids to the liver, which is taken up by the liver, that produces various abnormal lipids such as very low density lipoprotein, low density lipoprotein, and small dense LDL particles. These abnormal lipids causes increased tendency for atherosclerosis or hardening of the arteries and narrowing of the arteries. Obesity is also associated with low level of high density lipoprotein, the protective fat in the body, and that also adds on to adverse lipid profile in obese individuals. This diagram shows the relationship between obesity and fatty liver disease. You can see in a normal individual, there's a balance between the fatty acid intake and fatty acid output. Whereas in obese individuals, there's increased dietary fat, increased lysis of adipose tissue. All these factors causes increased free fatty acid uptake by the liver, increased synthesis and storage. Increased storage of fatty tissues in the liver causes a low-grade inflammatory state resulting in steatosis and steatohepatitis. This later leads on to hardening of the liver or cirrhosis of the liver. Cirrhosis is a major risk factor for liver cancers. This picture shows the relationship between obesity and gallbladder disease. You can see gallstone formation within the gallbladder, which may slip into the duct of the liver, causing acute cholecystitis or inflammation of the gallbladder. The stone, if it is slipping into the pancreas, it can cause acute pancreatitis. This complex picture shows the relationship between obesity and heart disease. The bottom panel of the image shows the protective factors and the top panel the risk factors. This is the picture of a normal artery in a healthy heart, whereas this is the picture of an abnormal artery from atherosclerosis in a diseased heart. Obesity and overweight is associated with high blood pressure and dyslipidemia, as you can see in the panel, which increases the risk of atherosclerosis and heart disease. Heart diseases from obesity leads on to heart attack, stroke, systolic and diastolic heart failure, abnormality of the heart rhythms, and even death. Obesity is also closely interconnected with arthritis, as you can see from the picture. In obese individuals, there is gross inflammation resulting in production of various adipokines, the chemicals from the fat tissues, and other cytokines which can be inflammatory. These chemicals, along with increased loading on the joints, causes destruction of the joint cartilage, in turn resulting in osteoarthritis of the joints. This picture shows the relationship between obesity and sleep apnea. In obese individuals, there is increased fat tissue in the throat that blocks the air passages when they go into the deeper stages of sleep, causing obstructive sleep apnea. And there is increased amount of fat tissue in the tummy, which presses the diaphragm between the tummy and the chest, causing underventilation of the lungs. This also causes worsening of the lung function. This complex picture shows the interrelationship between obesity and cancers. You can see in a normal individuals, there is less amount of adipose tissue, and in obese individuals, there is hypertrophy of the adipocytes. This hypertrophic adipocytes produce a lot of chemicals and hormones that in turn causes insulin resistance. Insulin resistance results in production of a lot of insulin, which is a stimulatory factor for growth everywhere in the body, and that may lead on to cancer. This picture shows the connection between obesity and infertility, both in females and males. In females, for example, you can see insulin resistance from obesity results in hyperglycemia or increased amount of glucose in the blood, which causes increased insulin secretion. This increased insulin secretion may disturb the pituitary gland, the master gland in the brain. Increased insulin production also changes the liver function, reducing the amount of sex hormone binding globulin production, which in turn increase the androgen levels or the male hormones in females. These androgens are converted to estrogens later, which causes abnormality of the pituitary, resulting in reduced amount of follicle stimulating hormone and increased amount of luteinizing hormone, which in turn produces the state of polycystic ovary syndrome, resulting in reduced amount of egg production and infertility in females. This complex picture shows the interrelationship between obesity and male infertility. You can see the normal fat tissue in a healthy individual, which produces a hormone called leptin that stimulates the hypothalamus to produce another chemical called kisspeptin. This kisspeptin controls the hypothalamic gonadotropin releasing hormone output, which controls the pituitary gland to produce normal stimulating factors called luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. These hormones control the regulation of testosterone production in the male gonads. Whereas in obese individuals, you can see the hypertrophic adipose tissue produces a lot of chemicals and hormones that disturbs the hypothalamic function, reducing the kisspeptin levels. This in turn reduces the gonadotropin release hormone output from the hypothalamus, disturbing the pituitary function and reducing the sperm production as well as testosterone, causing male infertility. Overall, as described in the previous slides, obesity results in a lot of systemic complications and even death. Therefore, we have to take every step to prevent obesity and lead a healthy lifestyle. Thank you.
According to Ayurveda, the obesity can be caused due to the aggravation of kapha dosha, the dosha which is present in our body, which is one among the three doshas, vata, pitta, kapha. So the kapha dosha aggravation due to the activities which we are doing, the food which we are taking, all these things increases the kapha dosha in the body. So this one will increases the obesity. It increases body weight. Genetic factors. Obesity is also considered as one among the genetic disorder which is transmitting from the families. That means the parents, if they are obese, there are chances to get obesity in the children as well. And also psychological factors. In psychological factors, mainly the stress. People, they are working in different environments and they are getting a lot of stress from the work, from the society, from the family. Then they become stressed, then it increases the anger, sometimes it increases the hungry. So the people start taking food to reduce their tension. They are following excessive intake of food, so it will cause some kind of obesity. Environmental factors, uncontrollable eating, our lifestyle, lack of physical exercise and other activities, which is causing obesity. Ayurveda follows a holistic method to treat obesity, which includes assessment of patient's mind, body, soul, etc. things, and also natural remedies which are related with the body type. It is not the prakriti of the person. There are a lot of Ayurvedic methods, Ayurvedic treatment methods to reduce the weight, to maintain the health and live happily. So today we are going to demonstrate one of our main weight reduction treatment. It is known as Uddhartanam. It is the massaging with herbal powder in reverse manner. Normally we are doing massage from head to toe. In this one we are using certain herbal powders, medicated herbal powders according to the person's body type. After the assessment, we are using that herbal powder to massage the person's body from down to top with certain pressure. This will exfoliate the body and it helps to reduce the fat in the body and helps to reduce in the weight. As well as there is another few more Ayurvedic treatments. Anyway, we are going to demonstrate the Uddhartanam, the powder massage to reduce the body weight along with the steam bath.
Uddhartanam. Uddhartanam is the herbal power massage for weight reduction. The massage will exfoliate the hair follicles and helps in easy absorption of herbal medicine internally. This massage helps to increase the body temperature, thus it helps to melt the underlying fat molecules fastly. Virachan Gati. Virachan is a Sanskrit word that means laxative. Stand straight with feet together and bend your arms and keep it to 90-degree angle. While inhaling, lift up your arms and while exhaling, come back to 90 degrees angle. We will do it with jump, but those who are suffering from knee pain and back pain, please avoid Virachan Gati. It improves our immune system Tiryak Tadasana. Tiryak Tadasana means twisting in Tadasana. Stand with feet together and fingers interlocked in front of the chest and palm towards ground. Pull the arms forward while inhaling through nostrils. Stretch entire body, keeping the heel on the floor. While inhaling, twist upper half right side, and while exhaling, bring the body back to preparation position. It helps to reduce the belly fat, especially the fat accumulated around your waist, and trims your waist. Surya Namaskar. Surya Namaskar is one of the most important yoga practices. It is the set of 12 yoga postures. Benefits. It's faster exercise to losing weight. Its postures help in stretching your abdominal muscles. It also helps improving your metabolism. It is good for glowing skin, better digestive system, ensures regular menstrual cycle, and improve anxiety. Kapalbhati Pranayam. This is a respiratory exercise for the abdomen and diaphragm. Sit in Padmasana or Sukshasana with Gyan Mudra. While exhaling, your stomach should be inside. Repeat it again and again, involving no effort at all, followed by forceful exhalation again. Repeat 20 to 30 exhalations in one round and exhale deep in final exhalation. This is one round, and a beginner may start with 3 to 5 rounds. Its prime physical benefits are weight, as it works up the respiratory system as well as the abdominal muscles. It helps to reduce sinus problems, stomach problems, and a woman's problem.
Obesity. There are 3 main causes of obesity and illness: less physically active, overeating, and unhealthy eating. And last but not the least is the stress, your emotion, your anger, fear, anxiety, depression. First, you have to realize you have the problem. You're obese. So how can you tell you're obese? How do you know you're fat? Well, the simplest one is pinch test. You pinch more than an inch, then you have to lose weight. Next, you measure your hip and your waist. For male, it should be 1. For female, should be 0.8. And medically, we do BMI, body mass index. We take the weight in kilogram, height in meter. And if your weight is 65, height is 1.7, the 65 divided by 1.7 times 1.7, which is 22.5. If you're less than 18, you're underweight. 18 to 25, you're good. Over 25, you're obese. Over 30, very obese, and so on. Severe obesity can shorten people's lifespan by almost 10 to 14 years. And BMI of more than 40, experts believe that extremely obese can increase your health risk, including higher chance of even having cancer, diabetes, heart disease, cardiovascular disease, or stroke. Why should you lose weight? I'll tell you why. When you lose fat, more than 60% of migraine goes away. More than 55% of depression is resolved. Sleep apnea resolved almost 70% just by losing weight. Asthma, more than 80%. Cardiovascular disease, 80% resolved. Hypertension, 50%. Fatty liver, 35% due to inflammation. And 20% liver fibrosis. Metabolic syndrome, almost 80% resolved. Obesity is a link to diabetes, type 2 diabetes, 80% resolved. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, almost 90% resolved. Gout, uric acid, due to uric acid, 70% resolved. When we eat food, it produces uric acid, you have to get rid of it. If kidney can't flush it out, it flows in the blood and gets deposited at your toes, which crystallizes. It's a very painful effect. It's a sign of our first sign of arthritis. And also when you're obese, your knee takes almost 3 times the load. So knee pain, 40% resolved if once you lose weight. Also, a lot of people have a UTI, urinary infection, and incontinence due to stress. So 40% that's resolved as well. And what they found is over 5 years in reduction, 80% reduction in mortality rate. Overall, quality of life is improved almost 95%. So now you can see how important it is to lose weight. For some people, it's very simple, and some people it's very difficult because of genetic reason and so on. And yoga and pranayama is one of the simplest way pranayama to exercise your internal organ. The benefit of pranayama is increases the level of oxygen in your blood, controls your body temperature, releases good hormones, exercise your internal organs. When I cut my hands, feet off, every single organ you see there, from my lung, my heart, my liver, gallbladder, my pancreas, my spleen, my adrenal gland, my both kidney, for male prostate and female the ovary and uterus, everything is exercised. When the liver is exercised, lipid fat around the liver dissolves and goes out to the respiratory system, and liver can perform an optimum task. Highly clean body is highly immune body. So highly clean body is highly immune body. Remember. So immunity improves to the spleen, bone marrow, and function of liver. As the immunity improves, it's able to remove the dead cell, prevention of lump in the body, cancers, and also remove all the toxin from the body. And best of all, it helps to control your emotion, your anger, fear, anxiety, depression, they all come down. So pranayama is one of the simplest exercise. You breathe anyway. Just you have to focus on the breathing. We do different breathing. One is the Bhastrika, deep breathing. This increases the level of oxygen in the blood. Second is Kapalbhati. You're blowing out like a bellow with your lung. As you breathe out, creates a vacuum, air fills in automatically. You're focusing on breathing out. The one important one for female is Ujjayi, which balances your thyroid gland. Clamp your throat. Put your chin down. That helps to massage the thyroid gland. Then close your right nostril. Come up and breathe from left to cool it down. Last but not least is the Anulom Vilom, alternative nostril breathing. You sit in Gyan with the left hand, right hand in Sun Vayu Mudra. Close your right nostril, breathe in. Block, breathe out. Then breathe in from same side. And breathe out. This helps to clear any blockage in the blood vessel. Also, opens up all the energy channel, so energy can flow freely. Prevention of headache, varicose vein, thrombosis, any kind of blockage, which is fatal for the body. And then obviously you Brahmi, you get in front of Brahmi, just closing your earlobe and index finger in your forehead, covering your eyes, and in Kichi Mudra. So you're taking the releasing of the crown chakra and to get rid of headache and promote good health. So these are the main pranayam, and we do some light exercise like grinding and so on. Simple ones, so even people who are slightly not up to par can still do those exercises and help to lose weight. So hope please promote, find a reason, make sure you do lose weight, because you can see the amount of benefit you're going to have. Quality of life definitely will improve. Om. Take care. Om.
Hare Krishna. Obesity, excessive weight is a worldwide problem. Everyone wants to lose those extra pounds or kilos, but either not able to do so, or if yes, then not in a healthy way. So today we are going to discuss the correct or alternative method to lose weight with our expert Dr. Prachur Agrawal. He is child specialist, nutritionist and a co-founder of Vedatmana, which is a lifestyle program propagating disease-free and medicine-free life through holistic approach. Doctor, how can we lose weight in a proper way?
Whenever one decides to start or embark on his journey of weight loss, he should keep one or two things in mind. First of all, the most important thing is that he should have proper knowledge about his body requirements in terms of calories, proteins and overall nutrition. And these requirements should be in compatibility to his daily lifestyle or routine also.
So what are the basic principles for healthy weight loss?
Not just for weight loss, but for anything, there are three basic principles which we need to follow. First is that we should have proper knowledge about how to lose weight, and secondly, we should apply it in a proper way. Most important is to maintain discipline. A lot of people tend to lose weight by one way or the other, but they are unable to maintain it. We should know the reason behind it, because either they don't have the proper knowledge of weight loss, or they are not applying that knowledge in a proper way. That is, the application is not there for that knowledge. But important thing is that not only having a knowledge and its application is not the key to success. Discipline is the key to success for weight loss.
Doctor, what are the common mistakes people do during their weight loss journey?
In one of our researches, we have found out that people who are just focusing on their physical attributes or who are just focusing on weight loss tend to lose focus or lose discipline with the time. This is because they tend to forget that losing weight or following a healthy lifestyle is not a thing of a day or two, but it is a lifelong journey. I can say for sure, if we can find something which can keep us focused and disciplined, that will help us not only lose weight but also will help us maintain it for always. And above all these things, the discipline and the focus will help us prevent ourselves from chronic diseases. As in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that conditioned mind is our biggest friend and an unconditioned mind is our biggest enemy. The conditioned mind is a seed to discipline.
So what exactly is conditioned mind and unconditioned mind, and how it is going to help us in lose weight?
Conditioned mind means mind which has control over 5 senses and which in itself is being controlled by our inner consciousness or spirit soul. The spirit soul is a part of much bigger thing which is God or Krishna, and the more we distance ourselves from God, more we tend to lose focus and discipline in our life.
So doctor, what is the best way you recommend for weight loss and stay healthy?
Well, I recommend, like I do for myself, I follow a definite specific routine. I follow Vidapana routine. I get up at around 3:30 a.m. in the morning daily. Whatever day it be, like it might be a weekend, still I get up at 3:30 a.m. That is the time of Brahm Muhurta, which is the time of maximum productivity. After I wake up, I do my daily chores like taking a shower and all those things. Then I go for a walk and I do mantra chanting, which helps me keep focus and create discipline in my life. After that, I make it a point that I do sun gazing and sun bathing on a daily basis, which is really good for my bones and for my inner health. My morning breakfast is like a detox water or a herbal infusion, which is totally herbs based. There is no nicotine or maybe caffeine in my morning routine. My morning breakfast also includes fresh fruits based smoothie. My lunch and dinner is at specific times, and it is like really simple. I usually do not indulge in much of proteins. Keep my dinner really simple, which is easy to digest. My evening snack is a fruit based snack with a herbal infusion. The most two important things which I try to follow is that I try not to use any social media platform after 8 p.m. in the night time, and I close my day by 9 p.m.
What do you say about protein intake, non-vegetarian food, caffeine intake, or any alcohol sort of thing? Do we have to take these things, like people taking black coffee or green tea for weight loss? Is it right?
If you go by me, I don't recommend these things because a lot of people are propagating and telling that taking black coffee or green tea is a metabolism booster. You should be taking high amount of proteins in your diet. It is far better than taking carbohydrates. But as I said previously, you should have a proper knowledge about your requirements, your body requirements in terms of calories, proteins, and carbs. Everything is important for you. This body needs carbs, this body needs proteins, this body needs vitamins, minerals, everything. Activate this body doesn't need caffeine. This body doesn't need any stress busters like alcohol, smoking, tobacco, anything of that sort. In case if we are indulging in those things, we are harming our body somehow. Taking excess amount of protein is like really bad. Many of our athletes are now propagating a vegetarian diet, which is really helpful and keeps me really energetic. And it is really good for weight loss also.
Thank you, doctor. Uh, Really, it is very informative and very interactive session. Thank you.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So what is Ayurvedic approach to slimming? Well, if you look at the Western approach, it's very much based on looking at calories of food, which gives the energy in the food. But if it's only a question of having low calorie food, why is obesity at an all-time high? So we have to look at different approach to slimming. The Ayurvedic approach is different. Instead of looking just at calories, we look at what we call the K value or the kapha value. What that tells you is not just the amount of energy the food's giving you, but how easy it is to digest it, eliminate, and also the amount of toxins it may leave behind. So, for example, 100 gram of white meat to 100 gram of red meat may have the same amount of calories, but are they both as easy to digest? Most would know the answer that white meat is easy to digest than red meat, right? So this is the K value of the red meat is more than the white meat, and that information you can get from the K value. That's one example of what we should be looking at. And K value is something that we have devised. It's an arbitrary figure, and it takes into account factors like how easy it is to digest food, amount of energy, how dense it is, how heavy it is to eat. So mangoes compared to, say, for example, grapes. Mangoes are a lot more denser and have a higher K value than grapes, for example. The other thing we need to look at is what we call the 6 tastes. All food has 6 tastes, which is the sweet, the sour, the salt, the pungent, the bitter, and the astringent. Basically, what we eat normally when you're having a meal. But Western diets tend to have more of the 4 out of the 6 tastes, and therefore there's more of a craving to eat, and therefore put you on weight because you're overeating to compensate for the lack of the 6 spices or the 6 tastes. How do you get a 6 taste? Very easy. Get a spice mix, get something which is going to give you all the spices. Very easy to do. The next thing you want to look at is mindset. A lot of people think that losing weight is all about purely what you eat. In Ayurveda, we say everything happens twice. Have you actually given any thought what you want to look like? How much weight you want to lose? Have you written it down? Have you got a picture of what you want to look like? Most people, when asked, do you want to lose weight, they say yes. How much? Oh, maybe a little bit. That is not specific enough. Next thing you want to look at is what you're eating, how much you're eating, and when you're eating. So what you're eating is the low K value food. So it doesn't mean that you don't eat the high K value food. If you like your red meat, what you do is you compensate by having more of the low K value foods with it. So you could have more spice, more the salads, and less dense food. So how much you eat, 2 handfuls, most people know, but the tendency sometimes when the food is really tasty, or you've been brought up thinking that you must eat everything on a plate, you tend to overeat. When you eat is also important. We have energies running in the body, and as a result, there are certain times when we can digest food better. And so we want to eat in accordance with that. And that is why we say don't eat food too late. We also say after a time it's siesta time because the energy levels are lower. The other thing, of course, we all know is amount of exercise you do, because what you have to also bear in mind is what you already have you want to reduce, and also you want to increase your activity so that you are digesting your food better. So yoga is fantastic to do. You can of course do the aerobic exercises like walking, and going to the gym and doing certain specific exercises. Great. The idea is to be doing some exercises. So those are simple tips that you should follow. And for an action plan, feel free to contact me and I'll give you an action plan that you can very easily follow. Along with, if you want a chart of the K value foods, that too I can give you. Thank you. Namaste.
Hello, I'm Julia Burrows. I'm the Director of Public Health for Barnsley Council, and I want to thank Dr. Gupta for inviting me to give a public health perspective to the conference. So I'm going to make a couple of observations and then I'm going to pass over to Christus, who will give you an overview of our approach to food and healthy weight here at Barnsley Council. We're not intending to show you a whole raft of graphs showing you how obesity is getting worse, rising health and cost burden. I'm sure everyone at the conference is well aware of the huge challenge we all face. And looking at the conference programme for today, I'm sure the event is not intended just to describe the problem, but actually to start thinking about what we can do about it. So with that in mind, my first point is about shifting the paradigm in how we see obesity. So it's constantly framed as the cause of this or that, morbidity, mortality, the pressure on health and care services, the rising costs to society, and so on. And what comes with that framing, of course, is victim blaming on a huge scale. So I prefer to describe obesity as a symptom rather than a cause. It's a symptom of enduring and worsening health inequalities. Environments where by default it is easier, even normal, to be overweight. It can be the social, physical, economic or genetic environment that means some people are more likely than others to be overweight, and blaming them just compounds the physical and mental health problems that are associated with it. And language of lifestyle choice doesn't help. I saw a comment on Twitter recently about how we spend so much time trying to change the behaviour of the poorest and the least powerful in society rather than the rich and the powerful, including those corporations that act as a commercial determinant of ill health, profiting from making people unhealthy, or those who have the political power to regulate to create a healthier environment, but often choose instead to emphasise personal responsibility. I first had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Gupta when we both served on a NICE committee looking at lifestyle weight management programmes for childhood obesity. And years later, my take-home reflection from that experience is the realisation that we invest so much time and thought about effective interventions for individuals, yet it barely makes a dent into the wider problem. The programmes we were looking at reached a tiny percentage of the overweight and obese population of children and young people. And even then, only a small percentage of those taking part achieved a lasting improvement. I mean, having said that, I absolutely acknowledge that weight management support interventions, up to and including bariatric surgery, have a crucial role to play to reduce harm and to improve health for individuals. And conferences like this one today provide a really valuable forum for exploring and sharing good practice. But it will be no surprise to you that as a public health specialist, I am stressing the importance of investing in approaches that work at a population level. Individual level solutions are important to individuals, but given the scale of the issue, they're a bit like trying to drain a toxic lake 1 teaspoon at a time. Every teaspoon removed is valuable, and finding bigger containers to remove bigger volumes will help. But if we can't stop the flow of water into the lake altogether, we will always be fighting a losing battle. So I'll now pass over to Christus, who will talk about some of the work we're doing in local government that aims at least to reduce the flow of water into that lake.
Thank you, Julia, and again, thank you to for inviting us to speak today at this conference and share our views on tackling obesity. As Julia has explained, and as I'm sure you all know, obesity is an incredibly complex disease, both in its cause, its treatment, and in its prevention. And that's evidenced nationally, regionally, and locally in Barnsley, as 2/3 of our adult population across the borough are either overweight or obese. Julia mentioned about individual interventions, and indeed we do have those in Barnsley through our Tier 2 and Tier 3 weight management services. Furthermore, we encourage people to be healthier, to eat more fibre, eat less sugar, do more exercise, but this doesn't really work very well or induce a lasting change in behaviour. More so, what we can do from a local authority public health perspective is to look at our wider environment, look at Barnsley, identify and restrict which streams are feeding and flowing into that lake of obesity, whilst simultaneously enabling and increasing the flow of things that might actually help people to make those healthy changes and achieve and maintain a healthy weight. So over the next 3 slides, I'm going to provide a very brief snapshot of 3 things that we're working towards in Barnsley to help tackle obesity. And the first one is on the current slide, and it's all about making a visual change to our environment through the introduction of a healthier food advertising policy. So before we even decide what to eat, when to eat, or even how much to eat, the chances are that we've already been subconsciously influenced by mass marketing. We're constantly bombarded with advertising for unhealthy food on social media, online and on TV, as well as when we're out and about in public spaces or just walking down the street. Advertising is everywhere and it works. That's why billions of pounds are spent by companies on food advertising every single year. And you'd probably guess correctly that the advertising spend for things like cakes, biscuits and confectionery is around 20 times higher than that for fruit and vegetables. Our government have recently announced a ban on junk food advertising online and before 9 p.m. on TV from 2023, which is a really positive step to take. However, this means that there will likely be a significant shift in the marketing budget allocation of junk food products. And that shift will be away from TV and online advertising and on to less regulated advertising space, such as our streets, our town centre and our outdoor public spaces. So consequently, at Barnsley Council, we are in the process of writing and implementing our own local policy that will restrict the advertisement of high-fat, sugar and salt products on any council-owned advertising space and hopefully eventually on privately owned advertising spaces as well. But such a policy is not just about stopping it's not about stopping or banning any particular brand from advertising. Any brand can advertise, they just need to advertise products within their range that are not high in fat, sugar or salt. And that may also incentivise manufacturers to actually broaden the range of healthier products within their menus, as well as create more space generally for the advertisement of healthier products. So ultimately, this serves to reduce our residents' exposure to junk food marketing, increase their exposure to healthier products, and almost help to subconsciously create a healthy shift in their purchasing and eating behaviours. So
स्वागतं कृष्णा शरणागतं कृष्णा स्वागतं कृष्णा शरणागतं कृष्णा मधुरापुरी सदना मृदुवदना मधुसूदना इह स्वागतं कृष्णा शरणागतं कृष्णा
Tajam, kitataka kitatum ta, kitataka kitatum ta, kitataka kitatum ta, takajam jam, takajam jam, takadikadunak din ta, takadikadunak din, tanakadim, 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 takadipi takadun, takadipi takadun, takadadunak din ta, tajam, takadakatum tajam, takadakatum tajam, takadakatum.
Hello viewers, my name is Amber Basu. I'm a consultant diabetologist at the Royal Bolton Hospital, and it is my absolute pleasure to be in front of you to be able to talk to you, albeit virtually. I'm very grateful to Professor Romesh Gupta and Dr. Rajeev Gupta to have given me this opportunity to come and talk to you. Obesity, as we have already heard today, that is a huge problem. It's rising very fast globally, more so in the Western world. We have already heard the problem associated with obesity, the mechanism, and how we could adopt a holistic approach to try to deal with this. In my section of the talk, what I would like to cover is to look at the evidence behind some of the lifestyle interventions we talk about in managing obesity, and with my special interest in diabetes, how that might affect the outcomes. We know that obesity is associated with various comorbidities such as type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and others. Type 2 diabetes itself is a cardiovascular risk, and many patients with type 2 diabetes unfortunately would die from a cardiovascular event. So to test this hypothesis, a few years ago, a lifestyle intervention trial was formulated called the Look Ahead trial. The idea of this randomized control trial was to look at if an intensive intervention to reduce weight, whether it would change the outcome of cardiovascular disease in type 2 diabetes. The study population was selected from the age group between 45 and 75 years of age. They had to have type 2 diabetes and a BMI of greater than 25. The number of patients recruited in this study is around 5,000, with the duration of the study to run around 13.5 years. The intervention was a restricted calorie of 1200 to 1800 calories a day, along with at least 175 minutes of moderate physical activity each week. The primary endpoints was any cardiovascular event or at least 7% weight loss during the trial. Now, unfortunately, this trial was terminated a few years early because of the futility of the outcome results. Although we saw a significant reduction in the body weight and their HbA1c at year 1, but gradually that drifted off, and by the time they reached 9.5 years, many of these parameters were very similar to the control. And although in the intervention group they did see a reduction of cardiovascular outcome, reduction in body weight, and reduction in HbA1c, but they did not reach statistical significance, and hence the trial was ended a few years earlier. There has been some controversies around this trial and some criticism about why this trial was ended a bit early, because we all know that cardiovascular disease in this setting doesn't develop that quickly, and it might take anything between 10 to 20 years to develop. And some say that if it was continued for a bit longer, we would have seen the differences. Let us now look at another significant clinical trial more close to home. So this was the DIRECT study, which was organized by the Diabetes UK and the Newcastle team under Professor Roy Taylor. So DIRECT was an open-labeled randomized controlled trial which happened in the UK General Practice. The patients had type 2 diabetes, which were diagnosed under 6 years. The method of the study was that at recruitment, all their diabetes treatment were discontinued along with their blood pressure medications. Just to mention that none of these patients were on insulin. All these patients were put on a diet food supplement with a calorie anything between 825 and 853 calories a day, and this was continued anything between 12 and 20 weeks. Then after that, stepwise introduction of other food items. They all were offered structured education. Primary endpoints, reduction of HbA1c of less than 48 millimoles per mole or 6.5% in old money, and or a weight loss of 15 kilos. Data was collected at the end of 12 months and 24 months. Headline figures, as regards to diabetes remission, in the first year, 46% remained in remission and about 24% lost over 15 kilos in weight. At year 2, 70% of those 46% remained in remission and 11% still had maintained this 15 kilo weight loss. So these are no mean feat, and it shows that dietary supplements have got a huge impact in calorie control and reduction in body weight, and thereby helping remission of diabetes. There are other studies which shows similar benefit. However, in my clinical practice, what I do find that although a patient might be able to lose significant amount of weight by calorie controlled diet, sometimes it's not very easy to sustain. And once the food comes back, the weight comes back. So at this stage, it might be useful to consider pharmacological agents which may help in weight loss. At present, there are two medications which are used for weight loss, and I will cover them in my next section of the talk. But I need to reiterate this time and time again that none of these medications should be used on their own. They must accompany lifestyle changes and dietary changes to maintain a healthy weight. The first medication I'm going to talk about briefly is Orlistat, a very old medication, and I think they are now available over the counter as well. So the way Orlistat works is inhibits the absorption of dietary fat. So if a diet is heavy in fat, then that will not be absorbed, and sometimes that will lead to the side effects we talk about this medication. So NICE has approved this, and currently it can be prescribed in patients who have got a BMI over 30 or patients with a BMI over 28 with comorbidities such as type 2 diabetes, hypertension or hyperlipidemia. The common side effects of Orlistat are abdominal pain and diarrhea. The other medication which has been recently approved by NICE is liraglutide. Now, liraglutide has been used very commonly for many years in type 2 diabetes, but the indication for this is purely for obesity. So in which condition can we use this medication? Anybody with a BMI of over 35 or a BMI of 32.5 in ethnic minorities, along with if they have got evidence of non-diabetic hyperglycemia as defined by an HbA1c between 42 and 47, and they have got increased cardiovascular risk if they have got comorbidities such as hypertension and hyperlipidemia. This needs to be done in secondary care provisions. The aim for this treatment is 5 to 10% of weight loss. Just to remind my viewers that liraglutide is a GLP-1 receptor agonist, which is a glucagon-like peptide receptor agonist which stimulates insulin release. The effects of this drug is to reduce appetite, reduced gastric emptying. That means the food stays in the stomach longer and thereby reducing the calorie intake. The common side effects of this drug is nausea and vomiting, but they tend to settle after a couple of weeks of initiating of this medication. In the field of diabetes, we have seen significant cardiovascular benefits with usage of these drugs, and it might also bring benefits in patients with obesity. So to summarize, obesity is a huge global problem and it's getting worse. But the good news is that we do have a lot of choices now, a lot of interventions which we can offer to our patients to help this. But I must reiterate, it has to be with lifestyle changes first and then pharmacological agents and other interventions such as surgery, which you will hear very shortly. I'm going to touch briefly on exercise before I finish off. General recommendation for moderate activity is 150 minutes of moderate activity every week. Now, there is ethnic variation, and there is a wonderful study by Professor Jason Gill from Glasgow, which shows that for patients from ethnic minority, they may have to do a lot more exercise to get the same amount of benefit of their European counterparts. So to give you an example, for reduction of HbA1c, if an European patient has to do 150 minutes of exercise, for a South Asian, that number is 299 minutes. We need to educate our patients the benefit of lifestyle interventions and then advise them on medication. So my mantra has always been no medication without education. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to talk to you today. Thank you very much.
Hello everybody, let's feel fit in 30 days and beyond. I'm Sarah Mills and I'm a health and wellbeing consultant, and I've been working in holistic wellness and the connection between mind, body and skin for overall wellness for more than a decade. And I'm really fortunate to have been working alongside an incredible award-winning organisation called Arbonne International, creating plant-based health and wellness principles grounded in science, efficacy and sustainability, with a mission to empower people to flourish with sustainable, healthy living. So nutrition is so crucial for overall well-being because it's all connected. The mind, body and skin, grounded in science, plant-based and developed by experts to just feel more confident in ourselves. This supports weight management, better energy, better sleep and overall well-being. And those objectives are to improve our gut health and boost the nutrients that our body is absorbing. Germs get a bad rap, but it's a fact that microbes are everywhere, including inside our body and on the skin surface. And this combination of good and bad bacteria is called the microbiome. Did you know? No two people have the same profile of microbiome, as in numbers and varieties of species. Secondly, we want to balance blood sugars. And thirdly, remove addictive or allergenic foods from your diet, showing you how to load your body with antioxidants, healthy protein, vitamins and minerals, and how to actually fuel and not just fill your body, which I'm so passionate about. I've been coaching people for more than 6 years on switching to a healthy plant-based diet and using a Feel Fit to 30-day program, having switched myself to a fully plant-based diet after being a vegetarian for more than 30 years. People often ask me, what dietary changes can I make to benefit my gut biome? And that might help with my weight, my energy and my sleep. And I answer, eating a plant-based diet instead of an animal-based diet can positively alter the microbial composition as soon as in 1 day. So Feel Fit in 30 days is designed to help identify any foods you're eating that might not be serving you. So here are 6 steps that I recommend to feel fit in 30 days, supported also with health coaches and accountability groups online to be by your side throughout the entire journey. Number 1, avoid the following, as these are foods that generally are not beneficial for overall well-being. Artificial sweeteners and refined sugars, such as sucralose and aspartame, alcohol, coffee, dairy, and wheat and gluten-containing products. Number 2, eat healthy, balanced food and nutrition intake every 4 hours. Choose a smoothie. I love it. 2 scoops of Feel Fit pea protein with 20 grams of protein and 20 added minerals and vitamins. Veggies such as spinach or kale or pumpkin and avocado. Fruits such as berries or apples. Eat a healthy, well-balanced meal once a day. Include healthy snacks as needed to help maintain energy. Drink plenty of water to stay hydrated and support normal bodily functions, including digestion. And try to drink at least 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. Number 3, get moving. Go for a walk, move your body. Any gentle movements are good for you. They stimulate your system. Be mindful, think positively, mind your mind. Decide who you associate with and what you read and what you watch. Fill your mind with goodness and limit the exposure to negativity. Get out into the green, get out into nature, go for a walk. Number 4, get enough good quality sleep. This is a major issue for so many people when stress levels are so high. Not enough sleep can actually cause weight gain, low energy and food and poor metabolism. So aim for 6 to 8 hours every day. And number 5, track your goals and process. What do you want to achieve? How can you want to feel? Write it down. Give yourself a smile when you change your eating habits for the better, however small. Keep a food diary and celebrate each day for the good. And lastly, get ready for 30 days and beyond. Establishing a healthy lifestyle every day. Let's all decide to reduce obesity. Use the tools that are there to make this a real possibility. My body has to get me through my life journey, and so has yours. I want to look after it. I want to be resonating at my optimum weight, and I want to support as many others to do that too. I want to get through it well and not break down. I must have good sleep, good exercise and nutrition. I am a true believer in living a holistic, healthy lifestyle, one that everyone can achieve. Our Feel Fit in 30 Days guide is meant for anyone who's seeking a journey to a healthy lifestyle to jump right in, regardless of your current lifestyle, weight or habits. I can't wait for you for joining me, and thank you so much. Let's all jump in together.
Hi everyone, my name's Charlotte from the Heartfulness Centre. So I'm here to talk to you today about weight loss and hypnotherapy. I myself am a qualified hypnotherapist. So when it comes to weight loss, one thing I will say from the start is that diets don't work. 98% of diets have a failure rate. So where does that come from? So I work under the premise that we have subconscious patterns running in the background that we're not aware of, whether that's from childhood, adulthood. And the thing is, food has an emotional attachment. We have a relationship with food. And often it can be unmet needs, something we're trying to get from our environment that we don't have ourselves. It can be due to stress. Maybe we're trying to fill that hole of comfort, of love, of connection. Or it could even be a lot of the time to numb pain. And we use that as almost like a self-medication, and we use food for that thing. So the thing is, when you go into a program and it's all about the weight loss, you can say you can lose a lot of weight really quickly in a month or maybe 2 months. But then 6 months down the line, you find, oh, I put all that weight back on and more. And the thing is, if you've got an emotionally ingrained habit or pattern, or like I said, there's an emotional need that's not getting fulfilled, that's going to come straight back on. At the end of the day, the subconscious is there to protect us, to keep us safe, and it can fulfill those needs through food. So one example I'll take is from a client. Again, went on many diets, couldn't lose the weight, put it all back on. It turns out that she had a lot of trauma. And the thing is, like I say, the subconscious mind is there to keep us safe. So no matter how much weight she was losing, it would all be put back on because her body was using it as a shield to keep her safe. And to be honest, the subconscious mind doesn't really care about what you look like, or at least it will override it if it's a sense of safety that you're trying to get from that thing. And for me, myself, I had a, let's say, thing with sugar. So sweet stuff like cookies and ice cream and things like that. And for me, it was used for me as a source of comfort, of connection, of love, to fill that hole that I wasn't getting met within myself and from others, like that sense of fulfillment. And the thing is, once I started working on that and I understood why I was eating those certain foods, and I made those changes myself to fulfill those needs that I was getting from that food. And I got those needs met through different sources and also in myself. So I started loving on myself. I started giving myself all those things I needed. And from that, I no longer need those food products. I no longer need the cookies, the ice cream. And even when I do now, even when I want that food, I have more control over how much. So now when I go to the shop and I'm like, oh, I fancy something a little bit sugary, I can just have a couple of mouthfuls and I'm like, oh, that's it, I'm fulfilled now. I'm okay with that amount of food. Whereas before I would eat a whole bag of cookies or a whole pot of ice cream. So the thing is that I'm here with you today is basically with hypnotherapy, we will be working on the subconscious patterns. We will be working on the reason why you're eating those foods. Is it a belief from childhood? Is it a pattern that you grew up with? Is it a need that needs to be fulfilled? So for me, we'll be getting to the core issues of why you're eating that food in the first place and what emotion it is you're trying to get from that certain thing. So for me, it's more about your relationship with the food and with yourself. And from that, working on those deep core issues, it will give you more long-term benefit. Okay, thank you. That's all from me.
So the first question I got asked was what triggered me to lose weight. I would say I've been trying to lose weight most of my life. A couple of years ago, I got tired of feeling uncomfortable all the time. My trousers were tight, my shirts were tight. I found it hard to sit down comfortably at work, mainly because of the tightness of my clothes. So I'd always be moving around. I'd start wearing looser clothes, loose jackets. I also started getting a lot of back pain and increasing knee pain. I found it hard to walk. I would actively not look for stairs to climb. I would make sure I catch a lift wherever I go. And around about 2002, I would say my weight was around 120 kilos. Actually, it was 120 kilos, I know that for a fact. And steadily over the years, I managed to climb it all the way to 145 kilograms. That was in 2018, and that's when I realized I needed to make some changes. And over the next 3 years, essentially, I've managed to bring it down from 145 to 116. My main aim is to get to about 100 kilos, so that's actively trying to get it down to 100 kilos. So the first one was Weight Watchers, which basically points, I think everybody knows about it, but I found it too complicated to try and figure out how many points are in food, and also eating a lot of Indian food, it's very hard to figure out how many points are in some foods that we eat. Then I tried this diet by Tim Ferriss, I think it's called the slow carb diet, and I found it too difficult to follow. Another one was the Cambridge diet, and it might have been a variation of that, but it was basically a liquid diet where you had soups and shakes. And that went on for 10 days, but that one started to affect me mentally, and I had some side effects as well. All these techniques that I've talked about worked, but I didn't follow them for more than 1 or 2 months. And after 2 months, you get tired of it and you just like give up and say, okay, that's it. And every time you gave up, the weight increased and it went up higher than before. What worked for me was first setting the goal of not putting on any more weight. I'd hit 145 and my first goal was not to increase my weight. And the first thing I did was I started walking, and I would walk a minimum of 4 days a week, and I would try and do around about 2 miles. And I would do that at lunchtime with some work colleagues. So 2 miles takes you about 40 minutes, leaves you 20 minutes for your lunch. So there's ample time to do that, and anybody can do that, even walking slowly, just a little bit of exercise. Then after about a year or so, I started to do weight training, so introducing weights to my exercise regime. At the same time, I found that I was cutting down on some food, but it wasn't anything drastic. But I did lose weight while I was getting more active and also doing weights. Then at the beginning of this year, I started to do intermittent fasting, and intermittent fasting accelerated a lot of my weight loss, and it's made me believe that I could actually lose a lot more weight than I've previously ever done, and it's something I could stick to. So I set my fasting window to around about 7 p.m. starting at night, and I would eat the next day around about 1 p.m. so just after 12 o'clock, and that would give me an 18-hour fasting window. Sometimes if I felt really hungry, I'd bring it down a couple of hours to 11 o'clock, and that was 16 hours, and sometimes push it out to 20 hours. So if I'm going out with some friends, or if I'm going to a restaurant, if I'm going out to somebody's house, then it might get pushed back to 9 p.m. But at a minimum, I set myself that I should fast for 16 hours minimum. Fasting allowed me to watch out for my triggers, and my 2 biggest triggers were eating breakfast. If I ate breakfast, then I would pretty much say that my day is derailed, and I would eat with no comeback later in the day. So not having breakfast means I'm a bit more conscious about what I'm going to have for lunch, and I know it has to be filling. And the other thing is setting the end period around about 7 periods. So, starting my fast at 7 p.m. meant that I'm not allowed to have late snacks. I haven't restricted the food I eat in my non-fasting windows, so I just eat the same food that I used to eat before. So the last bit is a message for the people who are planning weight loss, and I think it is to find something that you can use and fit in your lifestyle. It has to be something that you will stick to and something you won't give up on. For me, fasting worked because it was easy to follow. I didn't have to worry about things like portion control too much. I could have the food I liked. I was careful about not having too much carbs, so I did cut down on the bread and things like that, but you have to do that, otherwise you're not going to lose weight. But the number one message is consistency. You have to be consistent in whatever you do. I've tried other diets, never been consistent, never stuck to them, and that's what's caused me the problem. The apps that I've used to help me along the way are Happy Scale, which kind of like evens out the ups and downs because your weight can fluctuate about a kilo, maybe sometimes more between 2 days. So it's good to know that the trend line is going down. The other app I use is Fastic, and the other thing that's really helped is having a fitness tracker, whether it's a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or something like that. I've also updated the home screen on my phone to be very, to keep me focused basically, and yeah, so it's always the first thing that's on my mind all the time.
Hi, my name is Romesh. I wanted to tell you a little bit about my experience with the keto diet. Now, when I was much younger, many years ago, I used to eat as much as I wanted to, and I would never put on weight. As I got older, I started thinking that I was just still young, and I kept eating the same amount. Of course, over the years, I started putting on a lot of weight, especially around the center. My belly started growing bigger. It was a bit embarrassing. And I was not really taking time to understand what my body needed. I kept thinking that I can just still continue eating the same amount that I used to eat before. And I never made any changes. And then one fine day, I found out about the keto diet, and I studied up on it. And I started that, but I made a few changes. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I did. Okay, so the first thing to understand is what a keto diet is. Basically, our bodies are used to burning carbs for energy. Now, when you are burning carbs, then you're storing fat. The ketogenic diet basically forces your body to switch over from carbs to burning fat. So what happens is your body metabolizes fat as the fuel, and you have to give it more fat, but you're starving your body of carbs. Now you have to be careful because you need to know what your body is like. And if you have things like heart problems or any kind of physical problems that you are under medication for, you have to consult a doctor. In my case, I didn't have anything. So what I did is I started the keto diet. And the first thing I had to do was to cut out carbs. Rather, not cut out completely because you have carbs in vegetables and proteins, foods as well. But the main thing is to keep your carbs below 40 to 50 grams a day. If you want to go very strict, yes, you can go up to 20 grams even. But I was more like in the range of 30 to 50 grams a day. So how do you do that? Well, I started looking on labels on products that I was buying in the supermarket, making sure that I'm keeping track of my carb intake. So what's happening is, as you give it more fat, your body gets the signal that, hey, this is the fuel for me because there's not enough carbs available, so I switch into ketosis. Now, when it's starting to burn fat, you're giving it things like butter, cheese, oil, fried things. It might sound very crazy, but it actually works. Now, what are the things that my diet would be different during keto? Like, for example, I would stop eating rice, wheat, bread, any kind of starchy food, especially starch fried. That's no good. But you can have eggs if you're non-veg. You can have meat, you can have cheese, you can have butter. So a lot of times what I would eat in the morning, for example, breakfast, I'd have an egg with cottage cheese or eggs with soft cheese or some cheese. Okay, I'd have, if I get hungry, I would have like more cheese, or I can have vegetables. Now, normally the keto diet, a lot of people focus only on the fat and they don't have enough vegetables. Now, what happens on the whole is when your body is not getting enough carbs, your body starts to lose water. So initially, the first day or two, you're going to see a drop, like a kilo can go just like that in one day. But don't be too excited about it, because this is just body weight in water that's going out. And you have to really make sure you're hydrating yourself, drinking lots of water, because otherwise you're going to get dehydrated, you're going to get constipated, you're going to have other problems. So you have to make sure you're drinking lots of water during this time, especially. Now, one of the things that happens when you're switching from normal carb-based metabolism to keto, which is fat-based metabolism, then you're going to get something called a keto flu, where you feel sluggish and you might feel a little bit sick for a few hours. Could last a day or two because your body's switching. But now that I've been doing it for a while, I switch back and forth. I find that it lasts me maybe half a day. So your body gets more used to the switches. Just one very important thing to keep in mind before I go forward. You have to avoid sugar. Don't have any kind of sugar, including fruits. Okay? Fruits and even natural sugars you can't have if you're doing this diet. But you have lots of really tasty food available in that realm. So what did I do? What are the kind of foods that I ate? Like in the morning, I was eating, I told you for breakfast I'd have an egg with some cheese. Then I'd have coffee with cream, not with milk, because it's got a lot of fat content in it. And actually, I didn't feel hungry. That's the amazing thing. Now, for lunch, maybe I would have cauliflower rice because it's very low carb, or I'd have swede, which is very, very low carbs, but it can take mashed potatoes, the place of mashed potatoes. You can have mashed swede, put in some butter and some cream into it, or creme fraiche, and it can taste very nice. And then you can have proteins. Be careful of too many beans like chickpeas or kidney beans, chili beans, those kind of things, because they have a lot of carb content, so be careful. But you can have cannellini beans, which are the white navy beans. They're very low carbs. And then make sure you have lots of vegetables. Traditionally, a lot of keto people don't eat tons of veggies, but I do. And I felt that was important because it gives you roughage and your body needs those nutrients. And then dinner, again, you have other things similar, I have meat and, or eggs, cheese, and vegetables. So that's what I would do. And normally I wouldn't feel hungry because your body's got a lot of fat and it's taking in fat and using that as fuel, and it takes longer to burn fat as fuel. Now, so what were the results? Okay, over 6 months, I lost about 14 kilos. And it was quite amazing. I lost 2.5 inches around my waist. Then I was quite happy with the results. So I went from 87 and a half kilos down to about 72.5, 73. So it was like I was averaging around the 72, 73 mark. When I came off the diet, I went back to a normal diet, but then I found that I was a lot more aware of what my body needed. And if I have like periods of, like a lot of parties or celebrations, birthdays, relatives, visiting friends and families and all that, then I know that after that, I have to just pull myself back a little bit and have a few less meals with heavy carbs, and even go to a low carb diet where I'm having maybe one meal with carbs and another meal with like really low salads and things like that. So that way I'm able to sort of manage. And I've had times when I've put on a bit more weight. I've actually gone back onto keto as of about a week or 10 days again, because we had the holidays and we had a lot of relatives and friends and family. And so I put on a bit of weight, and now I'm starting to lose again. So it's been about a week. I've lost about 1.5 kilos. Again, that is a lot of it is water weight. So I don't get too excited, but slowly, I think over the next 3 weeks, my goal is to cut back down to about 73. I'm now 77, and I want to get back down to 73. So I hope that in the next 3 to 4 weeks, I will be able to do that. And I have done that in the past, but you just have to be strict with it. Control the keto flu the first day or two by drinking water. And you don't have to actually switch straight from a normal carb-based diet, which we mostly are on, to keto straight away. You could even ease off and go into the keto diet over a period of a week by lowering your carb content. So you're going low carbs and then to keto. So that's actually a better way to do it. I hope this helps. I'm happy to share my story with you. And don't give up. Whatever it is, you can do this. It's not that difficult. You just need to have some determination and perseverance, and don't get discouraged if you at first don't hit your goals. But any progress is better than none. So just keep going. and wish you all the best. Thank you.
So what are the impacts of obesity on health? It leads to further diseases. We call it comorbidities. It reduces the quality of life, and there's increased chance of morbidity and mortality, greater healthcare cost. Currently, it costs directly and indirectly up to 15 billions to the UK economy. So what is obesity surgery? It is also called bariatric and metabolic surgery. It is not a cosmetic surgery and does not involve removal of adipose tissue or fat. In basic, it involves reduction in the size of the stomach and some element of malabsorption by using the small bowel. It leads to better health through durable weight loss, resolution or cure of comorbidities like diabetes and sleep apnea, and improves day-to-day quality of life. So why surgery? Non-surgical treatments are not effective in the long term, as evidenced by various high-level randomized trials or evidence. Obesity surgery is currently the only proven method of sustained and effective long-term weight loss. Surgery cures or improves obesity-associated diseases. Risk of surgery are very, very small in comparison to remain obese. So the National Institute of Clinical Excellence has given some indications for surgery. If somebody's body mass index, which is measured by weight in kilogram by square of height in meters, if it's more than 35 or 40, you're considered for surgery if you're fit enough and understand the surgery and want to commit. If you're diabetic, then body mass index of more than 30 is also considered for surgery. For Asians, the BMI point is 2.5 less, which is approved by the International Federation of Surgical Obesity. So this is a picture showing a sleeve gastrectomy. You can see the part of the stomach taken out. I will show a video. Most of the surgeries is done by laparoscopic or keyhole surgery. This is a surgery performed. This is on the outer aspect of the stomach. We're using this harmonic scalpel. So what are the complications? The major complications are very, very uncommon, and evidence suggests that the risk to life is very, very low, similar to having a gallbladder surgery, hysterectomy or knee replacement. So this is Lisa who had surgery. You can see how much weight she lost. This is Linda, she had surgery 2017. This is Simon, who was struggling to walk. Now he's enjoying his holidays. And this is Lisa, who was struggling with her weight. Now she can enjoy with her son. Christine is enjoying her sunny day. And Tony, she looks absolutely different. John, who had surgery, who was struggling to walk and climb stairs. Now he has done half a marathon. Not only surgery, we follow them up, we support them. Now the patients who lost weight, they become community champions, and we encourage them to help in the community, and now which they motivate other people to move more. So obesity is preventable. We need to follow the principles of adopt new healthy habits, balance your calorie intake, and control weight. However, if medical management fails, surgery is the best and currently the best available evidence and option. Thank you for listening.
Everyone, my name is Mark Davis. I'm the partnerships here at Second Nature, and hopefully over the next few minutes I'll be able to give you an understanding of who we are, what we do, and how our product works. So what is Second Nature, I hear you ask? Well, the fastest way to describe it is as a digital weight management program providing high quality health coaching at scale. And the program features and structures have actually been built on the research done by Professor Susan Mitchie and her colleagues at the Center for Behavior Change at UCL. The Behavior Change Wheel is really the gold standard for designing behavior change interventions. You can see just from the diagram here that the framework lists policy categories on the outer ring, intervention functions on the middle ring, and sources of behavior on the inner ring, And it is this COMB model, capability, opportunity, and motivation, that actually equals behavior change, and it governs everything we do. We've woven many of these elements into the core of our program to enact behavior change at scale. And the way we do that in a practical sense that is understandable to everyone is concentrating on habits. We help people identify the negative habits in their life and develop personalized strategies to break them and build positive ones in their place. Whether that's getting a better night's sleep or improving their focus at work, we find solutions that make it happen and stick for life. So I've talked a little bit about our approach and the theory behind what we do. In a literal sense, within our smartphone application, we make it happen through 3 distinct channels. Firstly, we have Track, where an individual can follow daily changes in their steps, weight, and sleep. Secondly, we have Support, where every participant has access to a one-to-one chat with their own registered dietitian for 12 weeks. They're also part of a peer group to help motivate them and build a sense of community and team spirit. And lastly, we have Learn, the educational backbone of our program. Individuals learn all about the ways in which to improve their health through daily articles and put it into practice with recipe videos, meal plans, and other features as well. And in terms of the journey that a patient will make, it can also be split into 3 distinct sections. So once they've signed up, they have an opportunity to prepare for the changes they're going to make. They then embark on the core 12 weeks that I've already mentioned, and then supported by the health coach and peers to make significant lifestyle changes. From here, they effectively graduate to what we call sustain. So they continue to have health coach support after the 12 weeks, although at a reduced capacity. And this section focuses on embedding the changes through continued practice and access to additional resources, etc. So, analysis of our sustained weight reduction capabilities have been published in 7 journals to date. Users see, on average, a roughly 6% weight reduction over 2 years. And excitingly, we're in the process of publishing 3-year outcomes as well. Just a shame I can't talk about them just yet. Also, very happy to, after this presentation, provide some more granular data on how we perform in various different demographics. For example, BAME communities, men, over 65s, under 65s, all very, very interesting data. For our users living with type 2 diabetes, we've accumulated very promising HbA1c outcomes as well. In a study we ran with Dr. Partha Kar in Portsmouth, we also managed to support 40% of those users in that cohort to reduce their HbA1c to below the diagnostic threshold for type 2 diabetes at 12 months. Bit of a mouthful that. It's effectively diabetes remission, but we weren't actually studying diabetes remission specifically. This is a really exciting research area for us, though, into the future. And the reason we're able to maintain these health outcomes is because we're naturally engaging patients for an exceptionally long period of time. And the naturally is the key word there. We're not forcing patients to do any of this. They're doing it of their own volition. And like I mentioned earlier, after the 12 weeks, we continue to provide patients with additional resources to help embed the changes they've made. And like it says on the slide, 43% of users are engaged at 3 years. So this is really just a market-leading statistic for us and something we're really proud of. So some of you might be thinking, great, what can I do with any of this information? Well, you can actually start referring patients to us right away through the National Digital Weight Management Service, or depending on your location, the National Diabetes Prevention Program. So the Weight Management Service is for individuals with a BMI over 30 or 27.5 for those with those from a BAME background. And the prevention program, as you may already be aware, is for individuals with an HbA1c in the pre-diabetic range. So this is for GPs predominantly, based in the UK, based in England. Happy to run through this after this presentation with anyone if they want to reach out. So I can appreciate a lot of what I've gone through may have already gone in one ear and out the other very quickly. You might also be interested to understand how we can work in your local area and how our commissioning actually works. I'm always keen to talk, regardless of the topic. Very, very passionate about this specific area. So feel free to scan the code that you can see on the screen with the little T-Rex in the middle. Just hold your phone up to it with your camera opened, and there should be a web browser link that pops up. Failing that, an old-fashioned email also works to get the ball rolling. So you can see that on the screen as well, mark@secondnature.io, and we can kind of go from there. Thanks very much for your time, and hopefully that was helpful and interesting. Thanks.
I believe now you will know that it has been a great day for us. Thank you very much for all people who have attended the seminar and the educational event, which has been international, and we have got several hundred people across the world. In fact, there are several thousand who are logging in from different sites onto our website, onto the YouTube, and on various other methods. And I think it has been a very useful day. I would like to thank all the attendees, all the speakers who have taken time out to give their expert view, their own experience, their own journey, and shared with us. And not only just that, inspired us to do something different in our life and take some steps from here to put into our life to make our life more happy, more healthy, and more meaningful. Thank you very much. Bye for now.